Oh, please.
Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone.
All right, here we are once again, fresh off of our graduation excursion and live and in living color for this another time of Family and Beyond. I'm Adrian Starks, and I'm joined by my bride, Shandi Starks. What a privilege it is for us to have this time with you. And as it says in the link, our intent tonight is to continue down this path that we have been journeying, talking about navigating differences, with appreciating that there is an attraction of opposites. Opposite attraction is real. It is real, and it is oftentimes underappreciated to the extent that it needs to be understood, appreciated, and honored. And so we are hoping that this is going to lead into enrichment in your relationships, peace in your valley, and hope in your future, because God made us the way we are. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
And he did it out of wisdom. And because God is wiser than we have to appreciate it. And so instead of rejecting the truth of the matter, the writing on the wall, it's better for us to learn and to, as we are admonished scripturally, to live with each other with understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife had led us down a glorious path on last week as we discussed the issues of women and what she began to expound on. Many of you have given feedback. Some of you gave me feedback one-on-one. And I want to thank you all for tuning in and for catching the recording and so on and so forth. But I want to ask you to like and share because that would help us to continue down this particular journey of seeking to build families and beyond. So, Shandi.
Hello and welcome. One thing you forgot, yesterday was Mother's Day.
Yes, it
giving
was.
You an opportunity to redeem.
Yeah. So we want to say happy birthday to
Happy
you.
Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
Excuse me, Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And to all of you mothers out there, I thought that it was a glorious Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. So much so that you're still basking in the glory.
Right. I am.
Yeah.
I am. Yes.
So why was it so wonderful yesterday?
Well, we spent it with the family. I mean, it was good because yesterday was Kristen's graduation. And so we got to spend some time, but I just wanted to make sure you acknowledge that as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we are going to finish up this evening, hopefully. My husband said we definitely will. So I'm going to agree with him in that we're going to finish up what are some of the things that make women so unique and different. And we'll go from there. So the first thing is women really want for their husbands or their mates to recognize their worth as a woman, not just as an object of an affection, not just the physical aspects of her, but all of her, right?
But note that this is not saying don't recognize her for her beauty
Mm-hmm.
and for her sexual attraction to you, her appeal to you, but look even further.
Beyond that.
Add to the list of why you love her,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much more to her than her 36, 24, 39, and all that divine.
Right.
All right.
Right. So I mean, it's real important for you to go deeper. Go deeper. So what are some of those things that you really value about me?
Your mind,
Mm-hmm.
your wit.
Mm-hmm.
When we get into a deep laughter, which we do quite well, and that is attractive,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you are aiming to be Bernie Mac's cousin,
Yes.
right?
And that when you're not my object.
And when I'm not your object.
Like when my jokes or my wit is
the
not
target
about
of
you.
your Bernie Macness.
Yeah.
Her Bernie Mac-naciousness. There it is.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, those things that when you appreciate it,
Mhm.
and especially when I'm not looking for it,
Mhm.
it's how you get bonus points, right?
yeah. Tell me. Well, we probably don't need to go down this, but at one point we need to talk about relationship banking.
Yeah, I was thinking. I heard this, and I think it's an African proverb, but I use it a lot.
Okay.
Is dig your well before you get thirsty, and you have talked about it like with how you make deposits,
Right.
and withdrawals in a bank.
Yes.
And so valuing her beyond the physical is one of the way you make major deposits.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In that bank.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, she needs to connect emotionally before she will have a strong desire for intimacy.
Now, exactly, can you expound on that one a bit more to understand what the emotional need for a woman to feel what she needs to feel?
Well, I've heard it said like this, that a woman is kind of like a crock pot. It takes time. You know how sometimes I put things in the crock pot and it's not good the first couple hours, but by the time it hits that 6th, 7th, or 8th hour, it's everything is working together and all the juices are flowing and things like that. Am I correct?
Did you hear that, brothers? She said the first couple of hours ain't nothing happening.
You can lift it up as much as you want. You can lift it up high.
And then she followed that up with about the 7th or 8th hour.
I said 6.
6th, 7th, 8th hour. That is a whole work day.
Yeah.
I mean, but it puts things into perspective in an incredibly visual way to help men understand the immense difference. You guys, you see something and you like,
because I can bump into you.
Hey,
like I could stumble and fall and just bump you, and
you know
like,
that's
whoa.
That is hyperbole.
No, that's not true.
That means exaggeration.
No, it is.
But it's point well made.
Yeah. Okay.
Point well made.
Okay. So if men move too quickly, we feel more like objects and that we're being used. We can.
Okay.
Until we get like at this point in time, I just know how you are.
Hello. I was getting ready to say, wait.
Yeah, I don't feel that way anymore. But in the beginning, yeah. And so it's very important, and we have to be careful. We could go into a lot more of this, but this is a
right. This is a family show.
Right. but this is a statistic I heard, and this is something that all men should really write this down. That women thrive when they receive 8 to 10 non-sexual touches per day.
Now, she said, write it down. We're giving you a chance to write it down. Pull out the cell phone, click into the notes section. 8 to 10 touches.
Just because. Yeah, that. Or
is a verbal compliment a touch?
It is for me.
Okay. All right.
But that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
It is for me.
Right. I would imagine it would be for a lot of.
When you just pick up the phone or text me.
Okay.
Throughout the day, those count.
Okay.
I mean, not when you're like, what's the bank account number? Not that. But hey, babe, what you doing?
When you hear from me.
Or I was just thinking about you.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's a touch.
When you didn't need anything.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Y'all got that? 8 to 10. So start counting. Use tick marks if you need to. Okay.
It's a good point.
The next one, conversation and communication allows her to connect relationally through words.
Well, you just touched on that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And even for me, like I said, and this might not be all women, but like a text, because I'm usually busy during the day. And so I don't have time for conversations, but you're like, hey, I think, Adrian, you just send me funny things sometimes. Like, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
It means I was on his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that counts as a whole point, but maybe a half a point.
Because
it's not your original thought.
I don't see why it matters that you would splice it.
Maybe a fourth of a point, just depending on. But it's not quite a full tick mark, but it's.
I would say it's a tick mark, but if it's making you realize that you're on my mind,
and if it's making thoughtful, you like, oh chuckle, my gosh, this makes me remember when we did something. If it's something sentimental, emotional, that might count as a whole point. Okay. Otherwise, it's probably like, okay, he was thinking about me, and that's a good thing.
And this is a difference. I just want to point out that this is a difference between men and women. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily a strong need for men. So keep going.
Right. Okay. Another one is that we have a keen sensitivity to other people's feelings. A lot of women are constantly looking at other people's facial expressions, body language, and tones of voice. Like sometimes I'll read a text message to Adrian and I will act it out. And he said, and you got all that from the text message. Like, I don't think so.
I mean, I know you have a big brain, but I just don't know all the time that the inference is there, the message within the message. But it's interesting.
But I'm right. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to diminish that, but I think it is an incredibly.
Sometimes we can spend way too much time on that. Like, what did she mean by that? And going back to, did we talk about the Trevor Noah thing last week?
Mm-hmm.
Like, many women
reiterate. It's worth reiterating. I'm trying to
be careful not to generalize, because you hate when I generalize anyway. But Trevor Noah said one of the things that has helped him out most in life is that when he will take a pause and ask himself, is it really about me in the first place? Mm-hmm. Like when we get offended, when we get irritated, or I call it irked by something or someone, if we just take a moment and say, really, was that about me in the first place?
Right.
And so, babe, where was I going with that?
That sometimes you can I guess
I can make a lot of
make it personal
yeah,
when
I
it's
can
really
make a
not.
lot of stuff mean stuff that it may not mean.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm the only one.
I would know that you're not the only one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right.
And so that's something that men should note and women should work on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, remember Trevor's. It was good, and it was a second one, and I can't remember it right now. But
what if you're wrong?
What if you're wrong?
Mm-hmm.
That's just as big as the other one.
It's like, not about you. And
what if it's
you're
not
wrong?
About me? And what if I'm wrong? And
right.
What that's not really what he meant by that.
Right.
Okay. So just keep those things in mind. Another one is that conversation and communication allow her to connect relationally through words. And so when Adrian puts the phone down or the remote down and will just take a moment and look at me and have a conversation, it is very meaningful to me.
Yeah. That. So you're saying needing to be engaged.
Engaged.
Okay.
Like, don't talk at me. Don't talk over me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk through me or at me,
mm-hmm.
but communicate with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so,
Adrian, I look at how it changes your girls.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's not just me, and it's not just a love relationship. It's not just husband and wife. I mean, women specifically. Like when you sit down and have a face-to-face,
right,
eyeball to eyeball conversation with your daughters, and y'all know it messes me up. Like I'll watch, I get excited when I see you do it.
And the impact is noted, mm-hmm. but there needs to be grace extended as well, because women outperform men when it comes to conversation in the first place. And I'm working with multiples. And they wonder why I need to retreat with the dog or to an app, because though they don't require me to always talk back.
I just had a moment. I started thinking about that movie, Forrest Gump. You remember when he's running and running and running and running, and then all of a sudden he just stops. Everybody's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I have to stop now." But maybe if you just tell us, use those words, "I need to stop now." Like that's enough. That's all I can do for right now. Mm-hmm. That would be helpful instead of just zoning out, because you just leave us. And you need to be like Forrest. Okay, I need to stop now. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember? I love that movie. Okay. Another thing different about women is that we can process more than one thing at a time, and we can feel, talk, and think all at the same time. It's like we're emotionally ambidextrous, right?
Yes.
Like we can do it all. Like, I mean, we really can. We can feel, we can talk, we can think, we can emote, we can discern all at the same time, and you need to keep up with us.
And you can have 3 conversations at the same time too.
Well, Shandi, that's one of my superpowers. That's not, and that's actually because I have some neurodivergency. So let's put it that way. So that's not normal. Most women don't. I mean, most women don't do what I do. except for me,
God
Kristen,
help
and
me.
Courtney.
If you, and all I say is, if you're gonna make me talk in three different conversations, then don't leave out any words.
Yeah, he.
Give me the full sentence, and
But baby,
don't
that's not
require.
everybody. That's one of my unique. It can be a strength, but it also can be because I can keep up with you. Like I can go be all over the place at one time, and I can know what everybody was saying, thinking, feeling all at once. But that's a superpower. Um, but usually women can do that with in just one conversation.
Okay, let's go to the next point.
No, I think it's important. I think it's important because you all really act like you don't care because we can do all of that at once. And I'm not talking about having multiple conversations because y'all, I can be off the grid sometimes. And I'm having conversations, like I have a couple of conversations going on up here at once, and Adrian's having a hard time focusing on the one conversation. I'm like, well, what do you think about that? And he's like, you never finished the sentence. And it would be great if you could tap in there. But I mean, I don't have that expectation, but seriously, men, you all need to understand that most women can do all of that at the same time. I'm not talking about the multiple conversations, but talk, think, and feel all at once.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, we know women to pride themselves on being multitaskers. But I can say that prior to, I never thought about think, feel, and
Talk.
Amen. Amen.
Like a lot of times we talk through what we're feeling. And if you are bothered by the tears or the extreme emotion, it looks like you don't see, like right now he's yawning because I'm just talking through. It's important to track with us.
So men can't feel while they talk.
Usually you tell me like you all compartmentalize a lot. Like you're like, okay, let me think about it.
Yeah, the thinking has nothing to do with feeling. And so that's why I'm asking, are you emphasizing the feeling part? Because we're not very touchy-feely. We're thinking through it when we say we need some time to process.
I'm just telling you what we can do at one time, all at once.
Okay.
And we're talking through, like sometimes, haven't you noticed how sometimes if you just let me get it out, even if I'm wrong as 2 left feet,
Yeah.
if I talk it out,
right,
I get it out because we need to get it out. And keeping it in is worse than just allowing us to talk it out. And sometimes we can talk ourselves through, and we're just, like we said last week, you just need to listen and let us get it out.
Okay.
And not try to fix it.
Okay.
All right. And so like when we're hurt, we can become very emotional, and we express them. And sometimes if you just let us get it out, we can move forward. All right. Women are very discerning. Yeah, listen to me. Listen to me. Now, I'm extrally discerning. That's not a word, but I mean, I have a spiritual gift of discernment. But most women are discerning, period. Like, because we're feelers. We're very in touch with our emotions. We're very in touch with what we're sensing. We're sensors, we're discerners. And so a lot of times we can see what you cannot see. Come on, preach, John. Preach, Adrian. Talk about it.
Yeah. So there's a there's a characterization that we typically hear about women, that there's a sixth sense. We know we all have five senses, right? Eye, sight, taste, touch, and so on and so forth, right? Five of them. It is said that women have a sixth sense, and that sixth sense is speaking to their ability to feel and to discern. And it typically supersedes that of men because, as I said moments ago, we're typically not thinking of things in a sensory manner.
Very logical.
Right.
Very logical, very
Right.
black and white.
Absolutely. And so there's been numerous times that my wife has said things to me, and I was like, okay. Nah, I don't necessarily think that's the case. I don't see that. And then I would come along after the fact, and elements that she was proclaiming to be actually were. And so in honesty, I believe this is one of the reasons why God said it wasn't good that we stay alone, in that there's an added layer of a layer of ability at work. Now, that doesn't mean that men don't have the ability to discern at all, right? But what we're saying is that in a normal context, women will be discerning more than men will, and discernment is something that can be developed.
And when it's pure, can be that helpmate. It can be that helper.
No question about it.
That as a connector that we talk about. Like it's an ability to really help and to warn. And it took years for Adrian to understand, okay, I better listen, because and one of the things that can pervert it, see, God gives us gifts, and the enemy knows it. And the enemy knows it. And so what he does is try to pervert it. So women, if you are extremely discerning, but you're also wounded, and you're still carrying a lot of bitterness and disappointment, it can be problematic because it is a way that you can pervert your gift. If it's a spiritual gift, or the way God. So like if you are very, very jealous, if you are a jealous woman, which is a very hard thing to deal with, right? It's going to be hard for your spouse to really trust you with discernment, because you could possibly think everybody is after your husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you are whole, it can be a phenomenal compliment in your marriage, right?
Well, yeah, there have been numerous times when she has spoken something to me in terms of what she was sensing, what she was picking up, and I didn't necessarily perceive what she was discerning, and I didn't have an openness to it at first. And as time would pass, what she was discerning, what she was picking up, proved to be true. And I've learned to appreciate that.
And now you trust it, like it's almost like good as. I mean, you don't ever do you ever second guess it anymore?
Not normally, no. I mean, I listen to what she's saying, and it's almost like assisted vision.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have your glasses.
Mhm.
It's not that you can't see. We can see, but when we submit ourselves to something, it enhances our capacity to see even more clearly, or see something that some people can't see without their glasses at all,
Mhm.
in terms of seeing something with legibility, clarity, um, uh, to know what it is. The Bible says, I see, um, after Jesus healed the eyes of the blind man, he said, I see men as trees. And he then repeated the process as though he were adding another cleansing to that which was broken and dysfunctional, and his vision was clarified. I think that's literally what you're describing, and I think that's part of why God places us together.
Mhm.
But that difference can become a point of contention if it's not fully appreciated, um, if it's not appreciated and understood.
And also, if there are some undealt with issues of the soul
Yeah. On what side?
on
On
both
both
sides,
sides.
because I
Okay.
honestly think um, in the beginning, when I was seeing things and you weren't willing to see them, I think it had a lot to do with honestly pride. Because
Hmm.
you're like, why God showing you and not showing me?
Yeah. And then, a lot of times, because because you are so emotional, sometimes it can be perceived as this is being an emotional um, slant, as opposed to a reality. And, I used to slant to look at
Yeah.
things, right? I would slant, and that slanting is going to always impede your ability to see it, because we all have blind spots. So when you're slanted about something, I want to explain my analogy or use of this term, slanting. Um, when you have a slant or a bent towards things, you're you're favoring one particular side of a thing, and um, it's therefore not permitting a full view.
Mhm.
That was part of the way I was interpreting it. And I think I'm not alone, that there are others who will tend to think in that context. And it undermines the whole two are better than one.
And women, where we have to be careful is because anything that God gives us, the enemy would want to pervert it. And
Mhm.
so when we start using that in a way that is trying to beat up our mate or trying to get him to do something, we have to be careful because we can enter into manipulation, domination, intimidation, but primarily manipulation. And the Bible says that's of witchcraft. And I, women, we have to be cautious because I've seen it with my girls. It's like we come out of the womb knowing, sensing things. And when we put our emotions and we're trying to get our way, we can pervert it and end up being doing, what do you call it? Hoodoo.
Oh, yeah.
Hoodoo woo witchcraft. Okay. And so I have to bind those spirits in my home.
So one
Like
of
I've
the
learned how to control me, but now I see it otherwise. And I know how they try to manipulate situations because they can we are natural discerners. So that's a whole teaching that I would love to come back and teach the women. Maybe not even as it relates to, but we got to be careful because we open the door to those kinds of spirits in our relationships when we use our emotions and the gifts that God gives us to manipulate and try to dominate situations.
Yeah, so she used the term witchcraft, and I know that might not set well with some people. And she's given a portion of the definition. on multiple times during her explanation. Manipulation, domination, and intimidation are a threefold cord that will comprise what we refer to oftentimes as witchcraft.
And it's a way to control. You try
Absolutely.
to control somebody.
Absolutely.
And women do it how? Naturally. Naturally.
Yeah.
There are tears. That's why he can't stand when we start crying, because he's like he has.
Don't like it at all. I don't like to be manipulated, and oftentimes it can feel like you're about to get really just hoodwinked.
Bamboozled.
And yeah.
And it's not just, look, we see it, he sees it everywhere, not just in our home. Trust me.
Right.
In the church all the time. That's why he's like, okay, Shonda, come in here with me with this one.
the other day, a salesman stopped by the house, and I knew from go, it was a witchcraft moment, because he was trying to manipulate me, even with, and see, if you're in sales, you got to be careful, because they teach you this stuff. And the way they are teaching and training you will spill over into your relationships. And before you know it, you're walking it out in moments of time when you really don't want to be. And so, I know it was all on my face. And I just want to walk away, but I'm trying to be respectful at the same time. And we need to be mindful of this, helping one another, because men and women both can operate in witchcraft, but women more so tend to do it than men. Go ahead, honey.
I think that's it. We're run over time. Maybe we can come back if you have questions about that. If you think we need to discuss that further, because it is problematic. And I used to try to manipulate my husband to do the things, because he was so stubborn and just that pride. So I was like, okay, and I wasn't doing it on purpose, I don't think. But it was a problem. It was a problem on both ends, because I was trying to break him down, and he was like, I ain't moving. And it was just a hot mess. But anyway, we're free from that now.
I remember a comment that you made to me early in our relationship.
We're out of time. Do you really want to share?
I'm not going to share. No, we run out of time. We're out of time.
You see how? Do you really want to expose me like that? Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, go ahead. Woo! I expose you, so you.
No, we're out of time. Maybe we'll start off with that next week.
Yeah. But you see, that was a way I could have done it. Like, baby, don't do it.
So we hope that as we've gone through this evening, that somehow something has been said, or to help you appreciate differences between men and women, that we might be able to effectively sojourn through this life, to live together, to love effectively, and ultimately to win against every force that would compete against us to try and take away our victories, to try and cause us to not lift our hands in success and not to reach our highest height, because I know that that's the will of God for us. It is what we have been praying for, we've been believing for, we've been writing down our goals and vision, and hoping and believing that this will be our year. Well, appreciating these differences, I think, positions you well in order for it to manifest in the times that we need it most. And I believe that the time is now. Why not? Why not now? In so many regards, let it be now. So until next week, we want to thank you and bid you a fond evening, and Join us, share, and take care.
All right. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Good night.